I cut off 11 inches of my hair at 63 and cried in the car afterward. Not because it looked bad, but because it looked wrong in a way I couldn't name yet. Pixie cuts are supposed to make you look sharper, lighter, more awake. Instead, a lot of women over 60 end up looking tired, or harsh, or like they borrowed a cut that belonged to someone 20 years younger. It's rarely the haircut itself. It's 7 small decisions around it that quietly work against you. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50, so you get real results, fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1. The length mistake that makes a pixie age you. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. The shorter you go, the more your haircut has to do the work your face used to do on its own. At 20, a buzzed pixie reads as edgy. At 65, cut too short and too uniform, it can read as severe, almost clinical. That's not a flattering word and it's not fair, but cameras and mirrors don't care about fair. And there's a second surprise underneath that one. Most women assume the problem is going pixie at all. It isn't. The problem is going pixie at one single length all over the head, with nothing left to soften the transition from hairline to face. You've probably felt this one already. You sit down, you say short. The stylist takes you at your word, and 40 minutes later you're staring at someone who looks a little like a stranger wearing your earrings. Not bad exactly, just unfamiliar in a way that makes you second-guess the whole decision on the drive home. That flash of wait, is this me? Is the recognition beat almost every woman over 60 has felt at least once in a salon chair, and it's rarely about skill. It's about length distribution. The fix is what stylists sometimes call graduated length, and it changes everything about how a pixie reads on a mature face. Instead of one uniform short length across the whole head, the crown stays a touch longer for movement and lift, the sides taper gradually rather than dropping straight into the skin, and the pieces closest to your face are left with just enough length to soften the jawline rather than expose it completely. It sounds like a small technical detail. It is not. That graduated length is doing the exact job your hair used to do at shoulder length, which was framing your face and easing the eye downward instead of stopping it hard at your cheekbone. Here's the part that actually changes how people respond to you. Once that graduation is in, the eye stops reading haircut first and starts reading face first. That's the whole shift. A uniform pixie puts the haircut in charge of the first impression. A graduated one puts your expression, your eyes, your smile back in charge, with the hair simply framing it. Women describe this as looking less done to and more like themselves, just lighter. That's not vanity talking. That's the actual mechanics of how graduated length redirects attention. There's a texture piece to this too. And it's worth naming specifically because it's where a lot of at-home maintenance goes wrong between salon visits. If the crown is left longer for movement, it needs enough texture, usually through point cutting rather than blunt cutting, to actually move instead of sitting like a helmet. Blunt cut length at the crown with no texture underneath is almost worse than going uniformly short, because now you've got extra hair with nowhere for it to go. It just sits there, heavy, flat by mid-afternoon, refusing to lift. That flatness is often blamed on fine hair, just how my hair is now, when really it's a cutting decision, not a hair quality problem. I want to be specific about how to actually ask for this, because graduated and textured mean different things to different stylists, and a vague request gets you a vague result. Ask for length retained at the crown with point cutting for movement, a gradual taper at the sides rather than a hard line, and face framing pieces left slightly longer at the temples and jaw. That's a request with edges on it. A stylist can execute a specific request. They can't execute, just make it look good. Because good changes depending on who's sitting in the chair. The other thing worth saying plainly, this isn't about softening your look into something timid. Graduated length with real texture still reads as confident, still reads as a genuine pixie, still has all the lightness and ease that made you want to cut it in the first place. What it drops is the part that was working against your bone structure, not the part that was working for it. You keep the boldness. You lose the harshness. Those are two different things, and a lot of women assume they come as a package deal. They don't. Length distribution is the foundation everything else sits on top of. But there's a second mistake that undoes even a perfectly cut pixie, and it has nothing to do with the scissors at all. It's about the one product decision almost everyone gets backward. Part 2. The product mistake and the color mistake that undo a great cut. Two things can wreck an otherwise excellent pixie, and neither one involves a stylist's hands. The first is what goes on your hair every morning. The second is what's already in it. Both get overlooked because they feel separate from the haircut, when really they're the two things determining whether that cut actually looks intentional by hour 6. Let's start with product because this is the one I hear about constantly, and the mistake is almost always the same one. Short hair loses its shape fast, so the instinct is to reach for something strong, a heavy gel, a stiff hold mousse, sometimes a hairspray applied like a finishing coat over everything. It feels logical. More hold should mean more shape held longer. Except with a pixie, especially on mature hair. Heavy product does the opposite of what you want. It weighs down exactly the volume and movement the cut was designed to create. And it does it at the roots first, which is the one place a pixie can least afford to go flat. You've felt this by early afternoon, probably more times than you'd like. The cut looked sharp at 9 in the morning, soft and lived in by noon. And by 4 it's sitting close to your scalp like it's been rained on. Even though it hasn't. That's not your hair failing you. That's product weight doing exactly what heavy product does to fine or fine to medium hair, which is most hair over 60. It compresses instead of lifting. The fix is switching to lightweight texturizing products built specifically for fine or thinning hair, rather than anything marketed as strong hold. A texturizing spray or a lightweight paste, worked in at the roots while the hair is still damp rather than applied on top once it's dry, gives you separation and lift without the weight. The difference in application matters as much as the product itself. Root application while damp lets the product support the hair from underneath as it dries. Top application on dry hair just sits on the surface and adds weight without adding structure. Same product applied differently, gives you an entirely different result by 3 in the afternoon. There's a second habit tucked inside this one worth naming. A lot of women use their fingers to restyle throughout the day when the shape starts to sag, which seems harmless, but repeated finger restyling on top of already applied product just keeps compressing the same section over and over. If you need a midday refresh, a small amount of dry texturizing spray at the roots, worked in with fingertips lifting upward rather than pressing down, revives the shape without adding another layer of weight on top of what's already there. Now the second mistake, and this one surprises people because it seems unrelated to the cut entirely. Color. Specifically, keeping the exact same color formula you used at shoulder length once you've gone short. With longer hair, color has room to soften and blend as it moves, gradients fade into each other, roots have space to grow out before they're glaringly obvious. A pixie removes all of that room. Every inch of hair is close to the scalp and close to the face, which means flat, single-process color that looked rich and warm at longer lengths can look harsh, almost helmet-like, once it's this short. And regrowth that was barely noticeable at shoulder length becomes visible within 2 to 3 weeks on a pixie, simply because there's so little length between your part and your root. The fix isn't necessarily a different color. It's a different technique. Adding low-maintenance dimension, subtle baby lights or a soft balayage-style shadow root gives short hair the same gentle movement that length used to provide naturally. It also stretches the time between root touch-ups considerably, because a soft, blended root doesn't announce itself the way a flat single-process root does. Women who make this switch often say the biggest surprise isn't how it looks, it's how much less salon time it takes, because dimensional color simply grows out more gracefully than flat color ever does. Put those two fixes together, lightweight root-applied product and dimensional rather than flat color, and you've solved the two things that quietly sabotage a technically excellent haircut without anyone realizing the haircut was never the problem. The swap is specific. Heavy hold, flat single-process color traded for lightweight texturizing product and soft dimensional color. Neither shows up in the mirror the moment you sit down. Both show up by hour 6, and both show up in every photo taken after that. Product and color solve how the cut behaves through the day. But there's a mistake that happens before any of that, in the very first conversation with your stylist, and it's the one most likely to send you home with the wrong cut entirely. Part 3. The face shape mistake everyone skips. Here's something that rarely gets said out loud in a salon consultation. A pixie cut is not one haircut. It's a category of haircuts. And the version that looks stunning on a round face can genuinely age or unbalance a square or heart-shaped one. Most women walk in with a photo on their phone of a pixie they loved on someone else. And most stylists, trying to be accommodating, will attempt some version of that exact cut regardless of whether the underlying face shape matches. That mismatch is where a huge number of disappointing pixie cuts actually start, long before scissors ever touch hair. If you've ever left a salon technically satisfied with the cutting quality, but quietly unsettled by how it sat on your particular face, this is very likely why. The cut wasn't wrong. It just wasn't chosen for your bone structure. A pixie that's cropped short and close on the sides works beautifully on a round face, because it adds the angles a round face doesn't naturally have. Put that same tight, close-sided shape on a square jaw, and it can emphasize width right at the point you'd rather soften, making the jawline look more prominent rather than more refined. The fix is deceptively simple to describe and genuinely worth the extra 5 minutes it takes in a consultation. Before any cutting happens, identify your actual face shape, round, oval, square, heart, or long, and choose the pixie variation built for that shape rather than the one from the photo on your phone. Round faces do well with more height at the crown and closer sides, because vertical lift creates the angles a round face is naturally missing. Square faces do better with softer, longer pieces at the jaw and less severity at the sides, because that softness eases the strong jawline rather than echoing it. Heart-shaped faces, wider at the forehead and narrower at the chin, benefit from more fullness lower down near the jaw to balance proportions, rather than volume piled on top where the face is already widest. Long or oval faces generally have the most flexibility and can carry more dramatic, closely cropped versions without the cut overwhelming the face. This is the kind of detail that changes how a haircut is read the instant someone looks at you, before they've even registered your expression. A well-matched pixie makes the eye move naturally across your whole face. A mismatched one creates a strange kind of visual argument, the hair pulling attention one direction, your bone structure pulling it another, and the overall effect reads as slightly off, even to people who couldn't tell you why. Getting the shape matched to your face removes that argument entirely. Everything just agrees with everything else. Here's a small, specific story that illustrates this better than any general explanation. A woman came in wanting the exact cropped, close-sided pixie she'd seen on a magazine cover, worn by someone with a narrow oval face. Hers was a strong square shape, wide at the jaw. The stylist gently talked her through a variation instead, keeping the same short, easy length overall but softening the sides and adding movement at the jaw rather than cropping tight all the way down. She was skeptical in the chair. 10 minutes after the blow-dry, she said it was the first haircut in years where people stopped commenting on the haircut and started commenting on her. That's the actual goal of matching a pixie to your face shape. Not a more interesting haircut. A quieter one that lets your face lead instead of competing with it. There's also a practical benefit that has nothing to do with looks. A pixie matched to your actual face shape is dramatically easier to style day to day, because you're working with the cut's natural fall instead of fighting it every morning. A mismatched cut often requires more daily effort, more product, more time with a blow dryer, just to make it sit the way you want, because the shape itself is working against your features rather than with them. Get the shape right, and a huge amount of that daily maintenance simply disappears. The swap here is specific. A borrowed reference photo of someone else's bone structure traded for a variation actually built around your own. Same short length, same boldness, same pixie energy, just distributed differently across the head to work with your particular shape instead of against it. Getting the shape right solves how the cut sits on your face. But there are 2 more mistakes still ahead. And the next one is about something almost nobody thinks to mention in the chair at all. Your neckline, and the collars you actually own. Part 4. The neckline mistake and the fringe mistake nobody mentions. 2 more mistakes left, and both of them happen in places you wouldn't think to look. The first isn't about your hair at all. It's about your collar. The second is about the one section of hair everyone obsesses over, and almost nobody gets right on a mature face. The fringe. Start with the neckline, because this one genuinely surprises people every time I mention it. A pixie cut exposes your neck and collarbone area far more than any longer style ever did, which means the neckline of your clothing is now doing visual work it never had to do before. A crew neck or high round collar that looked perfectly normal with longer hair can suddenly create a strange stacking effect with a pixie. The short hair and the round collar sitting close together with barely any visual space between them. And the eye reads that stacked, compressed shape before it reads anything else. You've likely felt this without being able to name it. That sense in certain photos that something about the proportions looks slightly off even though the haircut itself looks fine and the outfit looks fine. It's rarely either one in isolation. It's the two of them sitting too close together, visually, with nothing to separate them. The fix is remarkably simple once you know to look for it. Choose necklines with a bit more openness or structure, a V-neck blouse, a collared shirt with definition, a blazer with lapels, rather than tight, high, round crew necks. This isn't about showing more skin, it's about creating visual space between the bottom of the haircut and the top of the garment, so the eye has somewhere to land in between rather than reading the two as one compressed shape. A structured collar or a soft V does exactly that. It reintroduces the breathing room that longer hair used to provide automatically, just through clothing instead of through hair length. Once that visual space exists, the whole silhouette reads differently. The pixie stops looking like it's crowding your neckline, and starts looking like it's framing your face with your collar acting as a kind of quiet foundation underneath. Women who make this single wardrobe adjustment often say it's the moment their pixie finally started looking the way it did on the person in the photo they brought in originally. Not because the haircut changed, because the space around it finally did. Now the fringe, and this is the mistake I probably hear about most often. A blunt, straight-across fringe that sits heavy on the forehead is one of the most aging things you can put on a mature face, not because of the fringe itself, but because of what a hard straight line does above the eyebrows. It draws a rigid horizontal boundary right across the upper face, and rigid horizontal lines tend to emphasize forehead lines and brow position rather than softening them. On top of that, a blunt fringe on fine or thinning hair, which describes most hair over 60, tends to look sparse and see-through rather than full, which undercuts the whole point of having a fringe in the first place. The fix is a soft side-swept, textured fringe rather than a blunt one, with pieces cut at varying lengths so they blend into the rest of the style instead of forming one hard line. This does two things at once. The varied lengths create the appearance of more fullness, because the eye reads texture as volume even when the actual hair density hasn't changed. And the soft diagonal line, swept to one side rather than straight across, curves gently around the brow bone instead of cutting flatly across it, which softens the whole upper face rather than framing it in a hard rectangle. There's a maintenance upside here too, worth mentioning because it's the kind of thing that makes a fix easier to stick with. A side-swept, textured fringe grows out far more gracefully than a blunt one. A blunt fringe hits an awkward, eye-poking stage within about 2 weeks of growth and needs constant trims to stay sharp. A soft, swept fringe simply gets a little longer and tucks a little further to the side, staying wearable for weeks longer between salon visits. It's a small detail, but for anyone who's ever felt tied to their stylist's calendar because of a fringe, it's a genuinely welcome change. Necklines and fringe both work by softening the frame around your face, one through fabric, one through hair. There's one mistake left, and it's the one most likely to be sabotaging you with. Part 5. The overnight mistake that undoes every morning's work. You can get the cut, the color, the product, the collar, and the fringe exactly right, and still wake up every single day fighting a version of your pixie that looks nothing like the one you left the salon with. If that's been happening, the answer usually isn't your styling routine at all. It's your pillowcase and what you're doing, or not doing, to your hair before you go to sleep. Short hair moves constantly against a pillow overnight, far more than longer hair does, because there's no weight pulling it down to hold it in place. A standard cotton pillowcase creates friction with every turn of your head, and that friction roughs up the hair's outer layer, which is exactly what causes the flattened on one side, frizzy on the other look so many women describe as just how my hair wakes up now. It isn't age doing that. It's cotton and 8 hours of movement against it. The fix has 2 parts, and both are simple enough to start tonight. First, switch to a silk or satin pillowcase, which dramatically reduces the friction a cotton pillowcase creates, letting hair glide instead of catching and roughing up overnight. Second, before bed, loosely finger comb the style back into its general shape, and if the crown has any length at all, Tuck it gently to one side rather than letting it get crushed flat underneath your head all night. This takes maybe 15 seconds, and it's the difference between waking up needing a full restyle and waking up needing 30 seconds of touch-up with your fingers. There's a reason this particular fix matters more for a pixie than for any other length. With longer hair, the sheer weight of it resists a lot of that overnight friction and movement on its own. A pixie has no weight to do that job, so the pillowcase and a few seconds of care before bed are doing the work that length used to handle automatically. Skip it, and you're essentially undoing part of your haircut every single night without realizing it. The morning after difference is genuinely dramatic once this becomes a habit. Instead of starting the day by fighting flatness and frizz with a flat iron and 3 products, most women find they're doing a quick finger tousle with a small amount of the lightweight product from earlier and walking out the door. That's the actual promise of a well-cut, well-maintained pixie: low daily effort, not high daily effort. If your mornings still feel like a production, the pillowcase is very often the missing piece nobody thinks to mention, because it happens invisibly, hours before you ever pick up a brush. Put all 7 of these together: graduated length instead of uniform, lightweight product instead of heavy hold, dimensional color instead of flat, a face shape match variation instead of a borrowed reference photo, an open collar instead of a stacked crew neck, a soft swept fringe instead of a blunt one, and a silk pillowcase instead of rough cotton. And what you actually get isn't just a better looking pixie. You get one that holds its shape all day, grows out gracefully, and takes a fraction of the effort every single mistake on this list was quietly adding to your mornings. You now know the 7 things quietly working against a pixie cut after 60, from the length pattern to the pillowcase you're sleeping on, and every single one of them is fixable without growing your hair back out. That's the real win here. You don't need a different haircut. You need these 7 adjustments to the one you already love. Which of these 7 surprised you the most, the collar and neckline one, or the pillowcase? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Next week I'm covering the exact questions to ask your colorist to keep a pixie looking fresh between visits, so you're never caught off guard by fast regrowth again. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.